game. Our hero Amanda Ripley, who's Ellen Ripley's daughter, is searching for some medical supplies for her injured colleague. We've come across this really interesting character, this doctor, who's holed himself up in this room, and he's offering to help you out if you help him out.
Okay. Now, one thing that I noticed immediately is the art style and the look of this is so familiar to me, being a fan of the first and the second movies in Menti. Is that really evocative? Are you guys going for that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're deeply passionate about that first film, and one of the things that we really wanted to do was to really take you back to that original kind of Ridley Scott Haunted House in Space. You know, this kind of 1970s view of the future. You know, it's this kind of clunky, chunky, push-button technology with this really own kind of lo-fi sci-fi aesthetic that's completely unique.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
So here we're being really cautious. You know, the player by this point in the game will know there's an alien on board the station that the game takes place on, and you know, this is a game which is very much about survival. It's not about killing. You know, it's a real game of cat and mouse. You're using your kind of instincts and the resources to try and survive.
That's something else, because what if the alien's just scared of you? And it's defending itself.
Yeah,
that's a different.
I love that John immediately has asked the bigger question. What's the alien's motivation?
Yeah, well, maybe you'll find out at the end of the game.
Now, this is a familiar tool, of course, from the movie franchise. Of course, can't forget about that. I can imagine that's an important tool for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the motion tracker. That really is your main weapon. That is the key to your survival. It's a kind of imperfect device. It's not this kind of super uber mini map. You know, it shows you some information. It doesn't show you all information. And we're also kind of mean as well. So when you bring up the motion tracker, we also blur the background. We take information away from you. So we really want to make people think really carefully about every action in the game. And so kind of for every action or a possibility, there's some kind of risk or consequences associated with it. And that's the same for the motion tracker as well. And of course it is a motion tracker, so one thing that people quite often get called out of is that obviously if the alien stops moving, the signal disappears. And so that's always something to keep at the back of your mind, because you could just stumble into this feature. So
basically the alien she could be right next to you, but as long as they're standing still, you'd be none the wiser.
Yeah, so you can't rely on the motion tracker completely. You know, it gives you some information, but it's not everything. And so you really are, depending on your instincts, you know, you're looking at, you need to have a real good awareness of the world around you. You need to be looking at the environment, you know, keep aware of your local threats. You know, and listening as well. Audio is a massive component of any horror experience, and so, you know, listening out for what's in the world around you is equally important.
Now, what's going on here? Because
right,
this is like
sort of. So here we're hacking our way into one of the offices. We're using this alongside the motion tracker. You have this hacking device, which is this really lo-fi piece of kit which has got these huge pixels, and
kind of like a little bit of a hacking mini game.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Brilliant.
And they become more challenging over the time, and you get to upgrade your hacking tool, and that will open up.
Unlocks the new.
Yeah, absolutely. It starts to unlock the world around you. I mean, the game is obviously kind of story driven, but it's also player driven as well, and the player can explore the world as they start to progress and unlock the world.
This is awesome. You must have had a lot of fun designing this kind of classic.
It's funny because in the 80s, this was the future.
Yeah.
Our future's a little bit different looking now in space. This is like retro, future, past. I don't know. It's amazing. The aesthetic is so dope.
Yeah. So one of the important things I think about Alien, and then something that we tried to convey in the game, is technology isn't the answer, right? So this is obviously set in the future, but you know, it's not the answer. There's no sort of sense that there's some amazing weapon that's going to be the solution to your problem. You know, and so that is kind of conveyed, and there's that approach throughout the whole game.
But that's a kind of an interesting point, because obviously you will have a certain amount of the spaceship. Whoa!
Oh damn! Sean, you almost screamed in space, and no one can hear you scream in space.
I actually jumped back in my chair. I feel a little bit embarrassed.
Oh damn!
What?
So here the player's using the environment to their advantage. You know, they're kind of caught out in the open, but we allow the player to really intuitively find spaces to try and protect themselves. So here they've ducked under this gurney in a very intuitive way. It looks like the alien's moving off, so
that's awesome.
That was really cool.
Jumped. Yeah,
that was so rad.
I proper jumped there. That was and
so we got the signal on the motion tracker. Now I suppose one of the kind of, you know, the alien is the star of our show, and we realised early on that if it was kind of scripted, it wouldn't be scary because you'd know what was going to happen. So our alien is just using its senses to try and track you down. It's looking for you. It's listening for you. So it's really dynamic and reactive, and it means that every encounter is different. Every encounter is kind of like a live encounter. And so there, the players use a flare
to kind of attract the alien.
Yeah, so we allow the player a whole bunch of ways to approach any encounter, and there they've just chosen to try and distract the alien. Obviously, like I said, the alien is using its sight to track you down. So there, I think it's seen the flare, so it's gone over to investigate, and that's bought the player some time here to try and progress. Over the course of the game, the alien will kind of. I mean, you can't play with it. As in, if you kept using flares, it would start to realise it's being toyed with, and it would stop being interested in flares, and you have to change up and choose some different strategies.
So
and different
basically, the alien is learning, the intelligent
yeah.
alien.
So
oh man,
absolutely, it's adapting to your behaviour. And again, this is all going kind of stems from the sort of supporting the idea of player choice, allowing the player to kind of confront.
I saw a guitar. Can you just sing a song to the alien? That doesn't work in space.
I love that you're again choosing for that path of kind of kumbaya, friendship.
I don't want to. Can't we just talk it out? It's an alien, man. It's the first time we've ever seen one.
Well, you can try that. You can take that approach.
But there's a reason that the alien scares the bejeebus out of me.
So here it's
so cool.
It's searching for the player, and it's a real game of cat and mouse. You know, you can have. I mean, I think this is one of the interesting things for me is you know, as game developers. You know, we play this game all day, every day, and yet if I was playing this, you know, my heart would be thumping right now because I can't predict, you know, 100% what's going to occur, and so that means throughout the course of the game, it really keeps the tension and keeps the anticipation because you're never sure what happens around the next corner.
I think that's important to mention in that scene. If we hadn't have been, you know, we're now watching somebody playing who knows I need to hide there. But if you just stumbled in there and just stood against the wall, that'd be the end of it. That'd be over for you.
If the alien saw you at that distance, it would probably be death. Yeah, absolutely.
No.
Yeah.
But you know, again, you know, it's down to that moment-to-moment decision making. You know, and I think you know, we take a lot of our cues from the film, and you know, I think one of the strengths and qualities of Ellen Ripley and the reason she survives is she's able to make the right choices under pressure. And I think that's what we're asking the player to do in Alien Isolation: is, you know, moment to moment, make the best choice possible under enormous pressure. So there's a huge amount of exploration in the game.
Oh dang.
And yeah,
that didn't go well for them.
That was unfortunate.
Yeah.
Somebody had a bad day.
They tried to play a song for him.
Exactly. They were the guitarists.
John, this is the guy who had the guitar.
Yeah. So exploring the world pays off. You start to find items and components that, if you get the right combination, you can put these things together to create tools and devices that will, if used the right place at the right time, will again change the odds. So, you know, like the flare, we have this cool device called a noisemaker, which is this kind of odd looking thing with two speakers and some circuitry. Now if you throw that into the world, it will start making a huge amount of noise and will attract the attention of anything around it. So again, the players trying to survive. They're using their motion tracker a lot. They're carving their way through the world, you know, making sure that the alien can't see them. So it hasn't gone away, it's still there. But it looks like we're...
This is very tense.
Yeah. So
there's a lot going on.
I feel like if I was playing this alone in the evening in the dark, I probably wouldn't be able to sleep afterwards.
Well, exactly. So the players deployed this noisemaker, and hopefully that will keep it busy. Let's see. Right, it's there. So let's keep moving. Oh, okay, and they've decided to run. So running in the game can be really cool. It can get you around the world really much faster, but it also makes a huge amount of noise.
Oh yeah, that was a bad idea.
Yeah,
that was a bad idea.
Oh no!
Oh. And that's the end of it.
So,
yeah, I guess there's no fight in that.
Yeah, that was a little bit.
Yeah.
That was a mistake. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I feel like running was a bad idea.
Bad choice.
I don't know who.
What else would you have done, Sean?
Well, you know what, John,
would you have done?
I'm not taking a leaf out of your book and saying I would have played a song to the alien, but I think I would have just sat still for a while. I felt like we were pretty safe when we were under the gurney.
Yeah.
I would have found some biscuits,
I would have stayed there
space biscuits,
for a very long
under
time.
the gurney and just chilled it out for a while.
Yeah, that is one approach, but it would have found you eventually.
Okay,
eventually.
Then that doesn't work.
I retract my last decision to sit under the gurney, but I would move. I definitely wouldn't run because that really turned things sour
that was
quickly.
a bad idea.
Yeah.
So here we've looks like we've encountered some survivors. Now they're in the same position as you. They're really desperate to survive, and that makes them extremely unpredictable. They look like they're armed, so I think we need to be really cautious around them.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
No, not at all.
Yeah, so there's a small inhabitants on the station, and like I said, they're desperate to survive, and so that means that sometimes they're a benefit to the player, and sometimes they can be extremely aggressive. Now it looks like, okay, so it looks like the player's using another noisemaker here, and if the alien's around, that will, okay, yeah.
Oh no.
Oh man.
Now this is where I say, John, could we not have sang a song to that guy? Because that guy
He had
was
a gun.
human. He was
Yeah,
human.
and he's
We
done.
could have made friends with him.
Okay, so we've kind of removed that.
Their
immediate-
blood is on our hands, basically.
So
now.
this is, again, this is about player choice and allowing them to decide how they want to try and survive. So this is one option, but to be really clear, you can play the game without having to kill any humans at all.
Okay.
So that, moment to moment, you might have to make desperate
And
decisions.
in that situation, you're basically talking, I could run this trial and error. So I could have gone up to them and said, hey, what happens when I have a conversation? He pulls a gun on me and says, that's not the answer to this.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's not completely black and white. He might have just raised his gun and told you to back off, and if you backed off, then there would have been no
fine.
confrontation. And
I love it.
Wouldn't it be dangerous for him to shoot a gun at you though? I mean, they just don't care anymore. Just
oh yeah,
fire
so I think that there's that. I think that's the problem. That they are so desperate to try and survive that they're capable of doing anything. At the time you're making all these kind of risk reward judgments. If you think the alien isn't around, then maybe that's the sensible option.
There are bloody carcasses everywhere. I would be pretty scared.
So again, the player's using this peek function to get some extra information about the world around them. So this is, by this point in the game, the player will have been introduced to the Season synthetics. Now these are kind of androids, but they're built by a different company to Weyland-Yutani, so they're not the same as Ash in the first film.
okay.
They're much more
a little bit more like Bishop in the second?
No.
Their blood isn't milk. I remember that.
I love Bishop. I was a big fan of Bishop.
So these guys are much more basic, and so again, they can be really unpredictable. Sometimes they can be a real help to the player, but also, if provoked, they can be extremely aggressive.
It's so tense that while I'm watching it, I keep forgetting that I should be talking. I'm
Yeah.
just sitting here just kind of holding my breath, thinking to myself, what's happening? Where is going?
I think you do have to kind of remind yourself to breathe occasionally. So these are kind of creepy guys.
Yeah,
whoa.
I mean, couldn't they have made it more friendly, kind of like packaging for these guys? It's like,
yeah. Well, hindsight's a marvelous thing.
oh wow.
Okay, looks like the alien's been attracted here as well.
Which means nothing good.
Yeah, the stomping you hear.
Yeah.
You really get an eerie feeling of dread in a situation like this. I mean,
So we really wanted to make this kind of really immersive world, and one that really kind of sucks you in. And I think it's been really interesting, coming to Gamescom and putting the game in front of so many people and getting the game in people's hands and just seeing the response they have. It's a game that causes a real kind of physical response. You see people kind of crouching down, trying to make themselves physically small.
I believe
when the alien appears.
Now let's talk a little bit about that. Games here at Gamescom. What's next for you guys? How do people get involved? What can they be doing around Alien Isolation now?
Well, the game's coming out on the 7th of October.
7th of
Oh,
October.
that's so
Write
here.
that down.
That
guys.
is soon.
If you are there, this is something you need to put in your diary. What can the kids watching, guys watching, girls watching, parents watching? Where can they get hold of this?
So it's going to be on Xbox One, Xbox
One,
360,
360,
PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, and PC.
You've just listed everything that makes me happy.
Yeah, no, that was incredible.
That's absolutely awesome.
And of course, if they pre-order, they get this amazing bonus content, which takes you back to the Nostromo, so the spaceship of the first film,
Right.
where we have managed to bring back the original cast to reprise their roles, some of them for the very first time, including Sigourney Weaver, who's never reprised her role in video games before.
Wow.
As Ellen Ripley.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's
that's
amazing, amazing.
Right
And that's a dream come true for us. And so, yeah, you get to play as one of the characters on the Nostromo trying to survive against the alien. And so, yeah, we've reunited the cast, and it's an absolutely phenomenal experience.
Wow. Well, I mean, I could sit here and watch this forever, but unfortunately, we have people that are always whispering in my ears, telling me about the schedule. So, I mean, first off, I want to say thank you so much for coming by and spending some time with us here, sitting down.
You can watch it right now and still get an emotional reaction out of it, because it's just so well crafted. It's a real testament to the sort of cinematic and creative work that went into that film. And so I think, you know, we want to stay really true to that original spirit. And that's no less the case for the alien. You know, that we really wanted to fully realize that creature, and I guess we set out to make the most high fidelity alien in video games, and again, absolutely harnessing the power of PlayStation 4. You know, whether that's visually or in order to create this, we had to kind of build it from the ground up. And so huge amount of work's gone into the animation, so it's fluid, it feels natural, and again, really, really believable. It can navigate the world in a way that feels totally realistic and natural.
Now, one of the things I really like about the premise behind Alien Isolation, it's set after Alien, but before Aliens, and you actually play not as Ellen Ripley, but Amanda Ripley, her daughter, who doesn't know what happened to her mother.
Right.
And it was funny, I remember hearing this and thinking, man, that's the most obvious setup for, but nobody's done it. It's a great setup. And tell me what kind of led you to this Amanda Ripley.
Right, so from the outset, I really wanted to make a game that was as close as possible to that original film. We love the whole kind of look and feel, that sort of 70s aesthetic, that kind of used future. So we really wanted to capitalize on that. And so, we needed to position a story that would enable that. And of course, we had this kind of light bulb moment, realizing there was this, in Amanda, this amazing character whose story hadn't been told. And there's this sort of, okay, what would happen there? What would happen if she were to confront that horror? And so I think from that moment on, and with Fox's blessing, there was only really one option, and that was to play as Amanda Ripley.
Good choice. Now we're getting a look here at some PS4 gameplay, very richly detailed environment, and I see some bad news, I think, just outside that locker. Tell me a little bit about how Amanda Ripley, or the player, interacts with the alien.
So, Alien Isolation is very much about survival. It's not about trying to kill the alien. And so that sort of shift in emphasis really makes the player have to really think about the world around them, really using the environment to their advantage. And so here, they're hiding in a locker. It's a very basic interaction, but it might just save you, and in that case, it did. It's about really constantly having an understanding of the world around you. And here you can, it's trying to break line of sight to try and make sure that the alien can't actually spot you. So you can hide inside objects, behind objects, under objects.
And look at the detail on that model and the animation. I had a chance to play this actually a few months ago, an early version on PS4, and it's stunning. The visuals are excellent, as you can see here. Very faithful to that sort of, as you guys have described it, a lo-fi, sci-fi world. And we have a motion tracker here, which is a really effective way to jack up the tension. So I mean, you're sort of dueling wits with the galaxy's most formidable predator. Talk a little bit about what the player's going to need to do to stay out of the way of the alien.
Right, so yeah, I mean, you've got the motion tracker. It's quite an imperfect device, but it's a very physical thing. We didn't want it to feel like some kind of magic map. It wanted to feel like it was something that you actually had to hold and use and look at. At the same time, we also give the player, there's a crafting system, so as you navigate through the world and explore and you find objects, you can put these components together to build tools and devices which, if used at the right time, in the right place, might change the odds. So, for example, there's this strange contraption we call the noisemaker, which is 2 speakers with a bit of circuitry, and if you throw that in the world, it starts making this really strange sounds, but that will attract the attention of anything around, and that might give you the chance to slip through. So interestingly here, the player has just spied so on the station there's sort of small inhabitants, and they're in the same situation as the player. They're desperate to survive, and they're really unpredictable. Sometimes they're kind of positive, and sometimes they're negative. And the player's just spotted someone, and rather than find out how that's going to go down, they've decided to actually put themselves at risk and go inside the ductwork inside the station, which is a very high, intense situation here, because this is the domain of the alien.
So one of the things that impressed me when I played the game was the alien, actually, the artificial intelligence. You guys actually have an interesting approach to this. The alien actually has senses. You sort of simulate how the alien behaves. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think from the start, we knew that if the alien was scripted, if it was on a preset pattern or a path, then for the player, it would start to, the scariness would start to diminish as you'd start to learn the pattern. And so we realized early on that this creature was going to have to use its senses of sight and sound to just drive its own behavior. So, as much as possible, we try and step back and just create a space and let the alien inhabit that world. And so when you're playing, it's very dynamic and reactive. And every time you play, it's a different experience. Everyone has a different story as to how they survive, because it's completely unpredictable.
Now, one of the things that's interesting here, we're seeing this flashlight in action, and I was actually impressed that the controls in the game are pretty simple. It's not, you don't have to fumble with a lot of buttons, but you actually have control over the narrowness and the width of that flashlight beam. You can focus it or expand it. Talk about how that factors into gameplay.
Well, so light's really important. The station is this very broken environment, and so being able to navigate your way is a really important part of the game. It almost acts as a puzzle in itself. That's something that really occupies the player. And obviously, with the alien around, you're having to navigate under a huge amount of pressure. And so light is important. But of course, at the same time, if you switch your light on, then that's a massive beacon to the alien. And so you have to use, again, it's using what you have at the right place at the right time, and using it, in a way that will help you to survive.
Now, I love this effect here with this dazzling sunlight sort of blasting through these windows. I think this looks so good. This is such a good-looking game on PS4. It's also on PS3, though, as well.
Yeah, that's right. And for a long time we were developing on PlayStation 3, kind of solely. And the core experience for both platforms is the same. I think we got some real rocket scientists back at the studio, and we're using our own proprietary tech on these platforms. And it really, I think we knew what we wanted to make from the start. We wanted to make this really immersive experience, which would be about lights and it'd be about effects and about sound. And so it felt like the right path for us was to create our own technology in order to deliver this. It's kind of a bespoke just for this game.
I want to talk a little bit about sort of the mechanics of fear in a horror game here. And I think something you guys do very, very well is all too many games or movies that are scary, it's all about jump scares, startling you, and eventually the player just kind of gets numb to it. You guys are really good at building atmosphere. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think a large part of that comes from immersion. I think the level of fidelity in the world, the effects and the lighting really help feed the player, get the player into a certain space in their head. Then when you combine that with the fact that the alien is unpredictable, its AI is unpredictable, you're not sure. I think that kind of really goes all the way back to what I think is horror. It's about the unknown, about not knowing what's around the corner, and the fact that it is unpredictable and dynamic and reactive means that you can't be sure. It does keep you the tension. I guess that's the fun thing for us is we've been working on this game for over 3 years. And, we, as developers, we play the game every day, all day, every day. And yet, this game gets our hearts thumping, and we die. It still has a really, sort of an emotional effect on us, because every time we play it, it's like playing for the first time again, because we don't know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. So here we are. Talk to me a little bit about what we're seeing here. I haven't seen this footage, actually.
So in this part of at E3 we're showing a new slice of the game from the main campaign, and here the player is trying to they're trying to hack their way into the system, but they've now been approached by and attacked by these really super tough and super strong synthetics.
I prefer the term artificial person myself. Sorry.
Yeah, but and you know, like I said, they're super tough, and so the players just use the iconic flamethrower to try and take them down. Looks like they had a few pistol rounds, so they've used those. But the player also has an EMP mine, which hopefully they'll use that.
This is bad news.
Okay, so that's stunned it, and hopefully we'll go in and try and finish him off.
Now these synthetics, as we've seen from the first film and from the second, are quite tough.
Yeah, I mean, so the station is run by a different corporation. It's run by Seegson, which is a new part of the universe. They're nowhere near as advanced as Weyland-Yutani, so this is their version of. Well, they can't produce androids at the same level as Ash, and so this is their kind of much more back to basics version. Like I said, you know, earlier, you know, during the game they are positive and they help the player, but it's unpredictable. You're not sure which way they're going to go.
Now I did see a handgun come out there at one point to shoot the synthetic. It looked like. I'm assuming if you try that against the alien, that's not going to get you too far.
No, that's not going to be very effective at all. I mean, you know, I think the interesting thing for us is putting these things in the world and just letting the player choose how they use them. Yeah, there is a pistol. You know, ammo is very, very limited, and it really is a high risk. You know, you can use it, but it's going to make a huge amount of noise, and that really is going to attract the wrong kind of attention. And so, again, it is about using the right thing at the right time in order to try and survive. I mean, here it's interesting. The players looking like, I think they've just found the alien. I think all the noise in the world is attracted the alien, and the alien has instead of charging at the character, at the player, has